feel like I've casted a lot of those MaxPax kind of beatdowns of Spirit, so maybe that's why I'm a little bit less surprised by the number. I think 16 is obviously still ridiculous out of 17.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
No, like,
but yeah.
If you would have told me, like, okay, MaxPax won 7 out of the last 10, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes some sense. But
sure.
16 and 1, that was a little bit more extreme than I thought it was. But the beautiful thing is that none of that matters. The past is the past. What happens is what matters is what's going to happen here in these semi-finals. As you guys can see, we have already loaded into Neo Humanity, which is going to be our first battleground. In the top left side, we are looking at the main base of the man who eliminated Raynor in the quarterfinals. Representing Starlight Twinkle, this is our Polish Terran player, Spirit.
He's taking on the red Protoss player in the bottom right-hand corner from Psystorm. It is, of course, MaxPax.
Perhaps the good news for Spirit is that one win out of their last 17 encounters did happen very recently. Just a couple of weeks ago, early April, he was able to get a 2-0 win over MaxPax. So I guess that is the silver lining when it comes to the stats, is that recently, the most recent best of 3 he won, because after that they only played the best of 1. The best of 1 win in favor of MaxPax. But the last best of 3 belonged to Spirit, but that's also the only one that he won in a very long time.
Spirit is running hot lately. I mean, his bracket here has been ridiculous. Versus Hero Marine, versus Raynor. I mean, not to take any away from MaxPax, but he has come here through the back of PvP. Showtime and Skillers were his previous opponents. Be interesting to see who brings it out in the TVP. MaxPax did have, you know, a few moments of being shakier during the group stages as well. He did lose out to Lambo, for example, too, but he also took down Clem on his way to the playoff stages, so he's been in pretty good shape. We know that. And we'll see what Spirit can bring. I'm very excited to see what kind of game Spirit brings, because I do think it's just been such a good run from him, and he definitely doesn't seem like he's done yet.
No. There's a lot of life. There's a lot of fight left in Spirit. There's a lot of fight, obviously, for MaxPax here. I think both of these guys had an absolutely brutal bracket, man. Like, we made it seem like, oh yeah, MaxPax beat Showtime and Skillers, but come on, Showtime and Skillers, those are 2 of the absolute best European Protosses. Besides him, I would say that these are the 3 that have really kind of waved the scepter when it comes to European Protoss over the last 12 months. So sure, that was off the back of his PvP, the PvP skills that we often talk about and that we praise him for, but it is still a whole lot easier said than done to take out those 2 dudes.
No, you're very right. I really was just saying, because his PvP is so freaking good, it almost makes it an easier run for him than it would have been for others. But no, they are freaking good. There's absolutely no shame. I mean, again, just fantastic opponents, tough road to get here. It's time to take those final steps. Twilight Council, Robo Facility looks pretty aggressive here out of MaxPax. He does always love his 4-gate blink plays, getting aggressive early. For a long time, it was like, man, can he do anything but that? And then he really started mixing up a lot more. This time it's going to be the Dark Shrine, opening the series with a good bit of aggression, Roddy.
Yep, the Dark Shrine, that is a little bit surprising. What Spirit is doing, I think, is also a little bit surprising, Barty. Because in the past, when we think about Spirit in this matchup, we know that he loves the Widowmine drops with the quick armories. That is the one thing that he was just doing a bit too much, even at one point in this matchup. And even if he still found some success with it, you don't want to come into a semi-finals of the Europe Regionals and be like, well, I'm going to Widowmine drop every game, and I hope I find some good connections. That's obviously not the case. But instead, he's opening up a triple CC here. 1 barracks, 1 factory, then drops another barracks. This is going to be really interesting. The eBay is quick, so even if Spirit hasn't really seen a whole lot, there is 1 scouting marine right now on the other side of the map. I want to say this marine could be important. MaxPax seems to have a pretty good idea of what he's going up against, because he's not only opening up with that Prism and the quick Dark Shrine, he's also still dropping a very quick 3rd Nexus. And I think there are many moments where you wouldn't do this, right? Unless you are convinced that your opponent is going for a very macro-oriented approach, I don't think you can really do these 2 things together.
No, definitely not. It's extremely greedy, because there's just no other units on the map for him. He's got 1 Adept, so no, you're not meant to do this. The only downside is, of course, Spirit's extremely well prepared. First turret going up on the natural. This first DT walks by, but it is going to go down, so that's a kill. 2 DTs in the main base will get scans, so they have to lift up, of course. Yes, you're going to force a scan, but at least with the triple CC, you have plenty of scans, you have plenty of economy. Great start for Spirit, and it's kind of now a saving grace that MaxPax has such a fast 3rd.
Absolutely. As one of the Archons, or one of the set of Dark Templars is going to morph into an Archon, MaxPax likes to follow up the DTs with some Archon harassment. But one thing I was a bit worried about is that Spirit would potentially have a very ugly start to game 1, and then maybe the wheels could come coming off, because we know that he doesn't always love playing TvP. But as you said, this is actually a great start. He built that turret early in the natural, was definitely not 100% certain it was DTs, but he had a soul read. Now it is important that he doesn't lose too many Marines against these Archons, as the Archons are thinking about going for the tank. Feels like that's a very ambitious snipe. Cyclone comes out, Cyclone gets the lock-on the War Prism. At least the Archons hop out, and the War Prism survives. Alrighty then.
Well, that was a little bit wild. I thought that Prism was done for with the Cyclone lock-on, but didn't have the final shot necessary. Yeah, that was dangerous from MaxPax. You're right. You know, there's times where it's like the DTs do nothing, but then the Archons kill an endless amount of Marines. It's like, okay, well, that's the Protoss' advantage. Spirit responded well, and he very nearly took a massive lead off of it, because if he killed those Archons in the Prism, then there really is nothing going on for MaxPax. As it stands, MaxPax starts to press forward a little bit. Marines and a couple tanks backing it up to the natural, and Spirit's trying to take his third base.
Yep, interesting that MaxPax is now already here with all these Stalkers, but why not? He's got Blink, he knows that he has shaved off a couple of Marines, he knows that it's been mostly macro so far, and he's just doing a very good job in delaying this expand from going down. Can he run into the natural? No, absolutely not. But hey, this is now already finding some decent indirect damage, and it actually allows the Prince of Denmark to go up to 4 bases, is now thinking of going into the main as Spirit has a lot of units. Spirit's wondering what he should do. War Prism goes into the main base. Stim is ready though. A couple of Marines and Marauders will stim forward. MaxPax is going to have to get out of here as quickly as possible, and didn't lose a lot there, Waddy. It felt that that was a risky maneuver, but once more MaxPax is treading that very fine line of risk and reward.
He could not wait for that blink cooldown to come back, because he was trying to make sure he didn't lose too many Stalkers. That could have been, as you say, disastrous, but he played it right. He got away with it, and that's part of what's so terrifying about playing MaxPax. The risks he will take aren't as risky, because he is so good at figuring out when he should stop. And when he, when the risk is actually okay enough, he's so good at identifying that. So, not punished this time around. Spirit once again attempting the third CC. Behind all of this, MaxPax now 4th base building up, so he's really sticking to that kind of fast expansion idea. And he's starting to finally see some better tech in the game as well, with the Colossus switch now on its way.
Couple of Zealots being wiped into the main base, as these 2 Archons from the very beginning are still around. 1 Archon will finally get picked off. How much can these Zealots get done? It's a very awkward area for Zealots and Archons to fight, but at the same time, the big army is going to stomp into the triangle there. Couple of Zealots, I don't think it's quite good enough. MaxPax needed a few more, as he absolutely needs to disengage with these Stalkers, but not before he snipes both of the Medivacs. And obviously, if Spirit has that many units in the 3rd base, Waddy, that means that the main base is still in a bit of trouble. Risky, but I gotta say, well defended by Spirit, but also excellent attempts there by MaxPax.
Beautiful bit of multi-prong from MaxPax, just in the main, jumping on the 3rd base. Spirit did defend pretty well, all said and done, but MaxPax also really did a great job of prioritizing his targets with the Stalkers. He got the tank quickly, he got a couple extra Medivacs. He made the absolute most of every shot he had. I gotta say credit to him for that.
Yep, if you take a look at the units that have gone down so far, those 2 tanks, 6 Marauders, and 2 Medivacs, and that definitely does start adding up. There's no way that Spirit had in mind that for the first 9 minutes here of Near Humanity, he'd be pinned to the 3 bases, right? Like, when is the last time that Spirit made it to the other side of the map? Other than that one little scouting Marine, he hasn't been able to. And now by the time that he does make it to the other side of the map with a decent army that obviously has some potential, he's going to run into a couple of high-tech units. As if you look at the minimap, there is stuff moving in every single direction. Prism goes into the main base with Zealots. Zealots run into the 3rd base as well, but there is a big Gabriel bunker there. As we take a look at the main army of Spirit that actually went for the Colossus for a split second there in the bottom right side, but there was a force field, there was a battery overcharge. Zealot storming into the natural as well. It feels that MaxPax is just everywhere he needs to be.
He's terrifying to play against, man. He is all over the place. It's so hard to deal with these things as a Terran, and Spirit's defended well for so long, but it's finally starting to sink in that he can't be everywhere, and these few Zealots in the natural find some extra damage. The Vikings pulled back. They could have finished off the Prism by now. Instead, more Zealots are warping into the main base too, and it took a long time, but MaxPax finally gets a good bit of damage done. He will finally lose the Prism. He loses the DT, just warped in as well. 17 SCVs killed. I mean, it was a lot of units that went down, but with Disruptors and Colossi back at home, I'm not afraid of MaxPax if Spirit comes back across the map.
I think that was everything that MaxPax wanted, right? Just make sure that you stabilize in those 4 bases, keep your key robo units alive, and then find some damage with all these gateway units that you made initially. As he's now going up to 5 bases, 10 minutes in, double robo, pumping out disruptors at the moment. 83 against 57 workers. It just means that MaxPax has done a lot of things correctly in this game. He's working with double forge as well. What is Spirit his best choice here? Like, I honestly think that being aggressive is completely off the menu. He just lost a few too many units. His economy is too weak. I think we got a turtle. But unfortunately for Spirit, turtling in this matchup on this map does not favor his race anywhere near as much as it may do in the other.
No, absolutely not. I mean, and if you start turtling now, MaxPax is already so far along to everything he wants to be at. Like, his 5th base is coming online. Sorry, his 6th base is coming online. He's just got Zealots just run around for days. He's got loads of disruptors. He could very easily afford a later game Stargate transition if he wants to. I just don't know what turtling does for you, but obviously I don't think moving out...
It's the only choice.
Exactly, right? Like, it's also the only choice. So then, I mean, you're waiting for MaxPax to make a mistake attacking into you, but obviously that doesn't feel like a great plan either. MaxPax is maxed out. Let's see if the beginning of this turtle is going to work at all.
Yeah, without a prism here, I do kind of believe for Spirit, right? Because it's obviously important that MaxPax does have some immediate reinforcements. Doesn't seem like that's quite the case. There are a couple of Zealots storming into the natural. Spirit just wants to see at least that planetary finish up, as the main army of MaxPax is going to disengage. Spirit tried to perhaps flank it, but it feels that MaxPax is already anticipating this. He's got the Zelnaga Watchtower. He knows he can fire a Nova from the high ground as well. That is what happens. So Spirit in the end will sort of move out, but it really feels that this attack is going into no man's land, and it just makes him even more vulnerable at home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if these units keep on getting chased and eventually go down, that's not exactly pretty for you either. We're going to get the big lift up now. I mean, the tower, sorry, is still in range of seeing that, so okay, can't really punish it. The medevacs are going to get back before Storks can do anything here. We try to blink for a Viking or so, and Spirit is currently supply blocked, by the way. The Zealots did cause quite a lot of trouble. We're still sending Zealots around, just wave after wave, going to find even more depots in the natural, and now we find big disruptor shots on the left side as well, but Spirit's going to get jumped towards the Colossi. He's just already lost so much. The disruptors are MVPs of this battle.
Absolutely, yeah, the Colossus may fall, but the Zealots are having a field day in the natural Spirit. That one bunker, by the way, has been repaired for approximately 4,000 hit points during this game, and it has saved a lot of SCVs, but it's not going to change the outcome of this game. MaxPax is incredibly rich, and all that he was needed was some sort of a trade, right? He could lose his entire army, and as long as he would take out 60 or 70%, the equivalent of Spirit there, because with the economies that we work with, that will work out for him. So rich that we're warping in 9 DTs with Shadow Stride and +3. It feels that this game is seconds away from ending. Game 1 truly was all MaxPax, man. From the very beginning till the very end, Spirit had a somewhat decent start against the initial DTs, and that was it.
Yeah. So he had a great starting defense, and then MaxPax just did absolutely everything else that he needed to just be in a great spot. Was so good with his aggression everywhere, and just never kind of went, never walked too far on the wrong side of the line when it came to that balance of, like you say, risk and reward. It felt like he was always getting rewarded. And going into the next game, I feel like Spirit's just going to have to start, I feel almost nicely, is going to maybe have to go more towards his own aggression and kind of take a bit of control himself, because letting MaxPax do as he wished has not worked out well.
Yeah. I still think that the openings were fascinating, right? Spirit going for that triple C, where you're like, hey, that's actually pretty good. Would have been maybe problematic against 4-gate Blink Stalker, the build that MaxPax loves and that he finds a lot of success with. Would also be obviously very good against Stargate. In this case, you're like, well, against the DTs, it works out. And then initially, he does it perfectly fine, doesn't really lose a whole lot. But it almost felt that at one point, Spirit got a little bit impatient, that he got properly annoyed, that MaxPax did such a good job in delaying that third CC from landing. Like, having 3 bases is one thing, but actually having all of them on the right location and up and running is obviously a different story. And MaxPax, even if all he had was 6 Stalkers and 2 Archons and a War Prism, did a really good job in making it hard for Spirit to take that base. And it felt that Spirit got a bit triggered, where he's like, okay, this is annoying. I'm just not getting anything done. We're now 10 minutes in. I have still not made it to the other side of the map. And obviously the first time he properly moved out to attack the 4th base of MaxPax. Yeah, that move out didn't accomplish anything. There was a cannon, there was a Colossus, there was a battery overcharge. And that's where he started taking real losses at home from all the Zealot run-bys.
Nope. Yeah, it's very, very true. As we are going to go altitude for map number 2. We've talked a lot about this map the last few days. Big map, right? Lots of options for directional attacks. Very open spaces as well. Difficult for the Terran to go pushing along early on this. So, does feel as though MaxPax might be feeling happy about map number 2 coming up. We'll see what he can do. It does maybe give Spirit a lot of bases to work with, though. If he does get in a longer game, there's a lot of locations he can drop. And Spirit has been very quick lately. He's been dropping all over and very active on the map when he gets into that sort of state. So maybe that's one of the things he leans on here, heading into a second game.
Yeah. I can only imagine the stress, though, that goes through the mind of a player like Spirit right now, where you'd love to think, like, okay, it's a great map for Metamac drops. It's a great map for maybe Widowmine drops. Maybe it's my time to start having some fun. But if then your first Medevac with 2 or 3 Widowmines flies into a bunch of Phoenixes, and your heart just falls, drops in your chest, right? And you're like, okay, what on earth am I supposed to do now? So it is a hard call to make. If the first one works out, yeah, then you're flying. But if the first one fails in a miserable manner, then it's very unlikely that drop number 2, 3, and 4 get damage done. So I'm not sure if he wants to go down that route, but we are about to find out. That's the beautiful thing here of the semifinals. Bottom left side, an absolutely amazing tournament for him so far, no matter what happens. Defeated Hero Marine in the round of 16, defeated Raynor in the quarterfinals. For the first time in his career, he's here in the semis. Our Polish Terran player, Starlight Twinkles, is Spirit.
In the top right, our red Protoss player from Psystorm, MaxPax.
I have seen Spirit do some crazy one-base openings here as well in the past, Waddy, where he is not afraid to build a factory on the other side of the map. He's not afraid to build a starport on the other side of the map. And I've even seen him go for the one-base Thor rush. Now, don't think that's going to happen this time around. Seems like we're just going to go ahead and try to get an eBay block. And the timing of this SCV, by the way, this seems very good. No, this eBay is going to get a lot of HP. And that may actually force MaxPax to just expand elsewhere, don't you think?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, it's way too much HP already. The probe left, the SCV walked straight in behind it without being seen, and if you're not going to then stick around the spot, then your option now really is just to go elsewhere. He has 400 minerals stacked up too, so he is very ready to drop it, and now has to go elsewhere, and that's always frustrating, but there's already an SCV kind of spotting over here, so it can delay it even further. Good start for Spirit, eh?
Double eBay block, triple eBay block. No, we're not going to make it there in time. So MaxPax is forced to take the base at 12 o'clock. That obviously is a bit of a nightmare scenario. I'm so curious to see what Spirit's plan as a follow-up is here, right? Because if this was a smaller map, you'd be like, 3 racks, 3 racks, 3 racks is amazing. But 3 racksing on altitude, Waddy, as big of a fan as I am of the build, I'm not sure if that is necessarily the right way to go. A couple of Hellions have potential, but it is obviously scary to make Hellions if you do go up against Stargate tech, whether it's Phoenix or Oracle. That can be good, but it does seem that Spirit wants to probably open up with a few Hellions here.
Yeah, no, I would imagine so. Get some access across the map, as also with that base being so out of location, it's just good to kind of power into that. There is a Stargate from MaxPax, which should help defensively against those kind of things, especially when he's going to be spread out on his initial defense so much at first.
Yep. Almost feels that it's inevitable that MaxPax is going to be forced to build a battery early on in his main base. If he doesn't do that, I think he's playing a very risky game. But we all know that the pros don't like to randomly build a battery for 100 minerals as the first adept. He does casually walk into the natural, gets an SCV kill there. That is some nice momentum for MaxPax as he gets a few shots off. Obviously, with 2 adepts, you can still kind of dance and flirt with these Marines. You can use one of the adepts to get high ground vision with the shade and then get a few hits off. And I can only assume that that's what he wants to do, since he's opening up with an Oracle as well. So reducing the Marine count, or at least reducing the amount of HP on these Marines, seems like it would be an awesome play. He's not doing that. He's just going to make Adept number 3. You think we're going to dive for Marines in the natural?
I mean, we could potentially, or we just sort of play a bit back and forth with those Marines at the very least, I suppose. It obviously allows you to be really on the pressure kind of point, so you have the choice to kind of, you know, go or not to go. It's a lot of Marines, man. We've got a Cyclone halfway done. This doesn't feel like the moment where these Adepts should ever commit. I just held my breath for half a second because he didn't cancel that until the last second. Oracle moving down the south, and maybe if you can get the Adepts to kind of bait the Marines forward, the Oracle can get a kill or two, but I mean, just 3 shots to kill an SCV, it's a lot. It's not a quick process.
Yeah. Cyclone is out, but Cyclone is not quite in the right spot yet, so this Oracle is able to activate Pulsar Beam. That is the wrong way to go, MaxPax, as the lock-on is a thing. So Oracle's going to take a lot of damage. Oracle straight up dies. I mean, that worked out perfectly for Spirit. Not revealing that Cyclone worked out for the best there, as MaxPax thought there was an opening to go for in that main base and get a few more SCVs. I mean, you gotta love this start of your Spirit, no?
Yes, I mean, that was an Oracle that's just done, I mean, okay, 2 SCVs, but really not that much. You've got nice quick stim on the way, you got a good amount of Marines out. Your opponent's going to have very late tech beyond the Phoenix, but you're not doing anything that's immediately punished by Phoenix, right? So, in general, you got to love this across the board. He will set up a bunk, he's a little afraid of future attacks, but yeah, I think Spirit's in a very good space, and if he can just get up to a couple medevacs, I'm actually terrified for what MaxPax might have to face off against soon.
Yep, as we're going to take a look. MaxPax is going to build a shield battery in the 3rd base instead. Obviously, he never had to worry about any Hellions. The Spirit just made damn sure that he got his Marine count high up. And yeah, that kind of worked out, because you look at the 3 Adepts that were initially made. Adepts are not exactly units that scale ultra well into the mid-game, right? Where you enter an army or enter a fight against Timba, and you're like, yeah, I got 3 Adepts. They can be a bit tanky and they'll get a few shots off, but it's not quite the dream unit. One more reason why I think we can say that Spirit should be more than happy with this start. MaxPax is obviously on 3 bases, is working on +1 attack as well for the ground units. So he's got some things to be somewhat hopeful of, but it just feels that Spirit, his army, is going to be a whole lot more powerful, as we even have barracks number 4 and 5 being dropped into the main base. I mean, this can even get as crazy as an SCV pool, and I wouldn't hate it against Phoenix Zealot. Like, it's probably one of the better scenarios to ever pull SCVs, even if this is an ultra big map. And with the way that this game has gone so far, Spirit doesn't have to pull SCVs, as a Widowmine fires on the Phoenix as well. There is our 3rd CC, but he's going to have a lot of firepower, Waddy.
I mean, he's going to have a big timing before it's really that 3CC kicking in, right? He's going to have 5 racks powered up. Even if it is the CC behind it, you still just hit with such ferocity across the other side of the map. I mean, MaxPax's only saving grace is maybe the size of the map. And if he does hold, Spirit is obviously late on the 3rd CC. He is low on workers in comparison to maybe where he should be. But that's, of course, a big if, because, again, the entire point of Spirit's build is to be as dangerous as possible. But if you macro errors, man, getting supply block, these are the sort of things that take the edge off your attack.
Yep, and that is obviously not supposed to happen. It was a big one, 94 out of 94, as MaxPax also is temporarily supply blocked. What I love, by the way, Waddy, is the quick armory here, right? Obviously, it's not that like, oh, it's super early, but it's just a whole lot earlier than Terran players did it in the past. But Spirit knows that Widowmines are going to be the very most important unit in this army. Mines are great against Phoenix, and mines are great against Zealots, as we already have a Widowmine drop trying to unfold in the main base. That does not work. A recall got used on what exactly? What did he recall?
The Zealots from the corner.
Zealots.
I actually have no idea where they came from. That was odd.
We have a couple of Zealots trying to run into the natural. A Spirit should be fine here if he just rallies a few more units. He's got a Widowmine as well. I do think that Spirit gave a lot of respect to the Phoenix Zealot army that didn't really have any real upgrades yet. And you had 5 Widowmines, right? Like, obviously the mine drop, it had potential, but MaxPax paid attention, denied it, shut it down. It's not bad. Obviously, the more that these armies grow, we said it earlier in the broadcast in ESL Masters Asia, and we stand by it. Right now, it's going to favor Spirit. If the Bioball just gets a little bit bigger, Zealots can evaporate. However, this is MaxPax, and MaxPax is not fighting with 12 Zealots. He's fighting with 31 Zealots, Waddy. So this is still going to be a very interesting fight.
But mines are very important here. If the Phoenix could find a way to lift any up, there is one observer, but it's right over in the main base, so mines are likely to get their shots off. Let's see what the splitting looks like. It wasn't that great. The mines honestly got a lot of the Zealots straight away, and the Zealots are going down very quickly because of those mines. As they do come through, a lot of them continue to drop, and we do have our Adepts continue to go down.
Ooh. Look at the Zealots, by the way, in the natural for a split second. They've been attacking that orbital for a while. They got a couple of SCVs, but they needed more. The Observer is going to reveal all these mines, and that is obviously at least nice for MaxPax. As the scan goes down, Spirit tried to snipe that Observer. I love that play. Gets it in the end, and there are still 2 Widow Mines remaining. They get very good shots off. An insane amount of splash damage, and it really does feel that Spirit is finding all the momentum that he was looking for in this game, because that Phoenix count body got completely reset in that previous skirmish.
Yes, it did. That Observer just got nuked down as well, by the way, so that might have to be rebuilt. MaxPax does clean up in the main, though. Third of Spirit still struggling to land, and MaxPax still has a 15-worker lead. I'm just worried that the longer this goes, we kind of need to start seeing some splash damage. We're set up with the Robo Bay, but getting the time to build into a good amount of those units is extremely difficult. As Spirit trying to be very funky with the just a couple of mines over here, and they will get a few probes before MaxPax again gets detection out.
Yeah, and it's hard for MaxPax to clean this up if his army is literally pure Zealot. This is a very awkward army. There was a scouting probe there. Warp Prism is going to sneak into the main base. So MaxPax is not done yet. He also wants to find more economic damage. Spirit regrouping in the center of the map, and the reinforcements have arrived. There's so much micro potential in this Terran army. Very little in the Protoss army. MaxPax is doing about as well as he ever could with a pure Zealot army, as he's now in the main base and the third base at the same time. And this is now starting to get a bit scary for Spirit. Still like the game, but he needs to start making some magic happen with his main army on the other side of the map. Yeah,
he needs to go big on the other side as MaxPax starts to fight into that. He just doesn't have much. Like I say, getting some amount of splash damage up would be amazing. The first Colossus on the way. We're going to already have to pop the super battery, though, and Spirit just says, well, I never attack into that. I could attack into the natural instead, and that's what he turns around to do. Colossus halfway done. They will be spawning off that third base. MaxPax is going to lose the natural, though, and all the work he's doing on the other side, don't even know it makes up for losing the natural. He is getting a lot of Marines, and he is keeping the Liberators home for a while longer. We're about to have one Colossus in a dream, Roddy.
Yep, there is that Robo Bay there. Spirit sees it, so he should know that that is on the menu. I think Spirit needs to be a little bit careful here, right? Because the Colossus is very good against the Marines. If he gets a couple of good shots off, that force field wasn't quite perfect, though. But yeah, the Colossus is still going to be able to do its thing. Gets a whole bunch of hits off. Like, in a weird way, this went so much better for MaxPax than I think it was supposed to go, because Spirit still gave him a lot of time towards the end, and it's only a 2-base Protoss, and taking out the natural, by the way, here is fantastic for Spirit, because that was actually the third base, right? And that means that the actual natural of MaxPax is gonna mine out a whole lot quicker. So it is just a weird, wonky game at this point, where Spirit still has a big army, has a powerful army, but he does need to be careful against the Colossus. Even without thermal lens, I think these Colossi have some potential here.
Oh, absolutely. A couple of Vikings on the way, but they're not here yet. Third CC getting in for Spirit. He only has 30 SCVs, by the way. He's going to start diving the main. The Fusiliers just pulled back a little bit with Libs sieging up here as well. It's going to be dangerous to fight against. Libs are going to go for the ramp. Let's see what we can do. The Colossus is going to start getting active. It's going to begin taking some shots. It goes down immediately as MaxPax too busy trying to deal with the Liberator. The Colossus on the other side now getting stimmed at by Marines. I mean, the Colossus can protect itself, but can everything else work out? Absolutely not. There's just not the numbers here at all for MaxPax, and Spirit is going to get this game as he takes on and takes down the Phoenix Zealot composition in the end. But my goodness, it took a lot of effort.
Yes, it really did, because one of the orbitals even died on the other side of the map. Obviously, there were a lot of fights happening, so I'm not even sure. Maybe it was the one in the main. I think maybe the one in the main died. But yeah, Spirit was down to 2 orbitals, and at the end actually had 28 SCVs remaining, as MaxPax obviously was focusing on a lot of the Zealot run-bys, realized that his army, and just keeping it together, it's not going to fare all that well against the much more microbo army of Spirit. So he said, I'm going to try to create as much chaos as possible, and he did a damn good job in that. But in the end, Spirit does win, so we're all tied up after 2, and that's obviously what we'd love to see here in the semifinals. Spirit is already requesting the first 5-minute break. But you know what, Waddy? I can't blame him. One of the biggest series that this man has ever played in all these years of video gaming. And I can definitely imagine how stressful that game was. And it got a bit sloppy there towards the end. It's impossible for these guys to be perfect. But the Liberators were idling in the natural. We did see Zealots attacking the orbital for a while. But then we even saw units move commanding all over the place, getting sliced up by Zealots. So maybe a little break is good for all of us, because that will allow these guys to bring their A game in Game 3.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's important to, slow it down a little bit. Take yourself, give yourself a moment if you need it. You're right. You have to play at your absolute best. You can tell. I mean, Spirit already had such a tough time winning this game out when we felt as though It was going to be tough. MaxPax decides now he's going to take a break too, so everyone's just taking a couple of minutes here before we head into Game 3. It's obviously tied up 1-1 here in the semi-finals. Serral awaits in the grand finals. Like I say, it's a big match, man. Neither of them have been to an EU regional finals before. 100% one of their biggest moments, with so much potential just throughout. It's awesome, been awesome run so far. And these opportunities don't come out very frequently anymore, Roddy. Twice a year. That's the only chances you get.
Yeah, and not just that, man. Like, you look at the amount of players that are so damn good in the European region. Even if we had this tournament 5 times a year, it's not given that a player like Spirit or even MaxPax makes it into the semi-final. They have the skills, clearly, and they can do it, but the stars need to align a little bit. Because would anyone have been shocked if we had a Lambo here in the semis? No. If we had Hero Marine or Showtime or Skillers, right? But not to forget about Rainer. So it is just an incredibly competitive region. You can always get unlucky with your bracket. You can run into a Clem or a Serral in the round of 16. So it is just such a big moment for these guys. And I completely understand. I love the way that MaxPax went about it here, by the way, where he's like, ready? And he's like, oh. Well, in that case, then I'm going to take a break as well.
It's like, I'm not
I still think he's the first one to return, Waddy.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
We'll find out next few moments when they do come back here. Obviously, as we make our way through the maps, we head to Dragon Scales. This is the map that is... It's just that short map, Roddy. It is dangerous. You have to be very on your toes as the Protoss to not get caught off guard, because if you don't see a Terran army coming your way, it's on your doorstep a moment later, right? So it's always something on Dragon Scales to be pretty wary of. And we'll see what MaxPax does, because maybe then MaxPax wants to take the aggression kind of in his own hands early, maybe play something like a Blink Opener. I think that's the kind of thing he would like to do. And of course, we've not really seen him play Blink Opener yet, because those DTs back in Game 1.
Yeah. If you told me that 3 games into the Grand Finals, we haven't seen a 4-gate Blink Stalker opening yet, I'd be like, I doubt that. But yeah, could definitely be the case here on Dragon Skills. There is obviously a lot of surface area to blink into the main base. And the beautiful thing about that opening is that MaxPax is so incredibly good in transitioning out of it. And I think that kind of separates him from all the other Protosses out there, or at least the vast majority of them. As Spirit says that he is ready, MaxPax fires back immediately. He's ready as well. So it's time. He was ready all along, buddy. He never took a break. But yeah, I think what MaxPax does so well is like realize when it's time to stop. When it's realized that it's time to, instead of all out, Blink Stalker question where we try to snipe tanks, where we try to snipe bunkers and potentially win the game. It's like, no, now we split it up, right? A little bit of a Stalker hit squad here, 4 Stalkers in the Warp Prism in the back of the main base. And while that's happening, and he always finds damage, he always transitions at home as well. And we were stunned and amazed by how beautiful Serral's transitions were there on Neo Humanity in Game 5. While dropping in the natural and in the main base, MaxPax does the same, but then as a Protoss player. It's a nightmare to go up against as a Terran. I guess Spirit might go like Barracks, Fast Expand Factory, 2 additional barracks is here. That's my guess, but we are about to find out. As the nerds are ready to hop into Game 3 semi-finals, who will take the 2-1 lead in our second semi? Bottom right side, the man hailing from Poland. We often call him a Big Piotr. This is Starlight Twinkles Spirit.
In the top left, our red Protoss player. It is MaxPax. Yeah, no, I think if MaxPax can just get into that comfortable start where he takes a bit of control and he gets up to the tech units, I think that's where Spirit's going to struggle a little bit, even though Spirit is so well known for his kind of later game and everything. MaxPax is just so ferocious in those situations because he just doesn't stop. Warp Prism in the main, the Zealots on the third, then he's got an army elsewhere too. You know, that was what, was unmanageable for Spirit throughout that first game. And that's, I think, got to be his goal going forward in these games as well.
What I've absolutely loved so far of both of the semifinals, not just this one, is that it's very rarely 2 armies looking at each other and saying, all right, let's fight. And this is what it all comes down to. There are so many run-bys, so many counterattacks, little side skirmishes happening at any given moment. And in the previous game, and at that point, the players can sometimes look sloppy, right? Where it's like, oh, Liberators are not doing anything. Marines are on move command. Zealots are attacking an orbital in the natural that's being repaired by 9 SCVs. But that's just because there are literally 4 fights happening at a certain moment. And obviously some are a whole lot bigger than others. But it is really amazing to see how these guys try to outmaneuver each other.
100%. It's also just, I feel like we get to the final day and everyone's bringing their absolute best, right? No one is going half-heartedly. They are putting every ounce of effort possible into all of these fights, into all of these engagements. And that's why they are everywhere. You know, they're not leaving any possibility unturned. And it has been very true across these semi-finals that it has been action everywhere. There's always been drop going on. MaxPax has been in Spirit's base. Spirits has been trying to drop MaxPax as well. Yeah, it's just top tier StarCraft, man. Top tier.
And the way that they time it out too, where it's not even necessarily like, oh, we're just gonna randomly do this and create a lot of problems. Is you have a triple CC opening, by the way. So this is a little bit perhaps similar to what we saw on Neo Humanity. And there I said, I do think that this would struggle a tiny bit with the 4-gate Blink Stalker, especially on a map like Dragon Skills. We have the factory. What do you think comes down after the factory? It must be the 2 additional barracks now. Otherwise, isn't Spirit just going to be low on units?
He has to get some. If he goes starport off this, he just has nothing. Like, at all.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't make sense against MaxPax. I think you have to go extra barracks. Factory holds down some space with the siege tank. The bunker will help you on the low ground, but you just need unit production. The barracks will help you power up, get to that stim, and then you can stabilize, be on 3cc, and be very happy. Let's see. Next few moments, we're about to find out. I mean, right now, it looks like he's... Okay, there we go. Barracks is going down. It's like, he's getting to a lot of gas. Like, he could drop a starport, but... He drops down the second barracks, and he is going to tech lab the factory. Probably work into maybe a Cyclone first, but really he needs to start getting those siege tanks out ASAP.
Yeah, man. I would be okay with completely skipping the Cyclone here, because otherwise he is just in trouble. And we could be looking at one of the more underwhelming games so far of the semifinals day. Well, also finals of ESL Asia. That's been amazing to us, because the main base is going to be a target. MaxPax is not the kind of guy to just make 2 stalkers and then just try to be like, oh yeah, we're just going to go ahead and expand. No, if he sees an opportunity, he will see it. I'm happy to see that Spirit will at least skip that Cyclone, will start building tanks. But I kind of, call me overly safe, I'd kind of even love to see a bunker in the main base, Waddy. Because I am still very concerned here for Spirit.
With the 3cc, it's all about surviving, right? And if you're under this amount of pressure, bunker in the main, an extra target for Stalkers to take down before they make further progress and before they really start a trade for game-ending kind of damage, I'm down for anything defensive, honestly. I think Spirit will need it. He's not set up well, you know, in terms of the build against this. So you've got to take the extra precautions, but I guess step 1 is figuring it out. I mean, the good news is the second tank already on the way. He's not skipping a beat there. This tank positioning has to be perfect, though. He cannot take any risks with the tanks, and he definitely can't lose one for free super easily.
Yeah, well, now we are going to get those additional bunkers that we were asking for, and I'm very happy to see it. Otherwise, this could have been a very short adventure. But even with all these bunkers and even with the quick tank production, there are no guarantees here for Spirit. He still needs to be on the money. The tank positioning needs to be perfect. MaxPax throws down a scout into the natural with the shade, and he's like, ha! You're clearly more protected in your natural than you are in the main base. So what I need to do is go ahead and get into that main base. Has dropped the Nexus already on the other side of the map, but there is so much area in this main base. SCVs will fall, that's inevitable. The only question is how many.
Yeah, this is about damage control here for Spirit. You're going to take some. You need to make sure you don't take so much that you can't recover with the 3CCs, but this is getting bad. Both the tanks position at the same time. They both go down in one fatal blink. Well, that was painful. We do have a new one popping out. The bunker was still alive, but this is major damage because those 2 tanks being dead means future attacks as MaxPax are so much more potent.
Yep, and MaxPax has money to warp in 4 more Stalkers. 4 Stalkers died in that first wave, but 2 tanks, 10 SCVs, 5 Marines. Obviously, MaxPax is going to be more than happy with that. That bunker is completely empty at the moment. Wouldn't hurt to put a couple of Marines in it. There are some adepts in the mix as well. These adepts are great at soaking up that first tank volley. MaxPax doesn't have to get too crazy here, right? Because he knows that he's already done a lot of damage. Then, yeah, just delaying the economy, playing it safe, maintaining a high Stalker count is completely fine. But if an opportunity presents itself to go for the tanks one more time, he will. That Orbital is taking a lot of damage, water, and the SCVs are going to be forced to be pulled. Oh, yeah, this is Spirit's economy. I want to say he's in shambles, but he is doing a great job in producing SCVs during all of this. So even with 11 SCVs dying, Spirit is still sitting kind of pretty at 47, and at least Spirit has Stim now.
He does have Stim, combat shields on the way. Stalker's going to try and find another entry point, but with 2 bunkers here, it's going to be hard to make meaningful progress in the natural, so Spirit keeps on holding on for now, and I don't know, of looking at this coming out. I mean, obviously MaxPax is transitioning. He has got that third base up. But I'm going to go ahead and say that if Spirit can get up to +1 combat shield, get a stopper online without too much more happening now, I'm kind of fine with it. But obviously that is a big ask without too much more happening. Although these Stalkers do not have a good exit strategy. They were too far to the right side of this base, and I feel like Spirit could have even had more, and he gets the Prism too. Okay, maybe there isn't going to be much more happening then.
Yeah, now that's amazing. That was probably one of the bigger mistakes that we've seen MaxPax make throughout this entire series so far, as that was completely unnecessary. He went in very deep, lost a couple Stalkers, loses that Warp Prism, is forced to rebuild it immediately, is still sitting pretty at 63 probes, is trying to transition into a Templar Archives, so we may get some storms down the line. One thing we can't forget is that MaxPax killed one of the refineries and obviously did a great job in delaying the gas income of Spirit for quite some time. So Spirit was forced to take these refineries in the natural. It was all a bit awkward. And that was a big win for Spirit there. It's good to see that MaxPax is a human after all, Wadi, and he does make a few mistakes that we all do.
He does sometimes, apparently. The third base for Spirit has to find a way to get out onto the map, right? And that's going to be his next major goal, to have enough stuff to get onto the map with the third. A new Prism up, charge is ready, and you know what MaxPax thinks about here. He's thinking of counterattacking into the base. Zealot run by his potentially if Spirit ever moves much further out. And he's also prepping up his further tech as well. Storm is on the way, coming up to being about halfway done already. As Spirit takes a turn over towards the third and is going to be able to get this down. MaxPax pushed back for the moment, but again, he's going to rebuke with the Storm, the +1 attack. He's going to be stronger than ever soon.
Warp Prism? Warp Prism in the main base. A couple of Zealots hop out there, thinking about going for that tank, but that is not going to work. Spirit left a few Marines in his bunker, and those Marines were very quick to hop out of the bunker and make sure that these Zealots didn't accomplish too much. So this Prism is now going to get recalled as well. Yeah, Spirit has done a lot of things right. Obviously got a bit of help by MaxPax, with MaxPax donating that first Prism and giving him some much needed time. We've got a proper game on our hands. Spirit does not seem confident that he's like, oh yeah, I can move out. And look at the minimap, or look at the vision that Spirit's had so far in this game, by the way. He's playing very blind, threw down one scan. He's like, okay, cool. That's all I need to know. Clearly, you are working towards some tech. There is a lot of gas being mined. And I'm just going to continue being the defender here. And to be fair, economically, Wadi, he's doing perfectly fine, right? Because, yeah, he lost a lot of SCVs, but he did an even better job in rebuilding them. Now we need to worry about storms, though. And since the Ghost Academy has just finished up, we do not have any ghosts yet. This is going to be scary for Spirit once more.
Yes, it is. First storm goes down. SCV's taking a couple shots and will be going down there, so damage dealt. Okay, not super crazy though, and Spirit's going to immediately load up and go drop across the map. One medevac trails behind, but triple drop here, and everything in MaxPax is on the map. This might force a recall, if not just a massive warp-in, but even a warp-in might not be enough right here. Okay, MaxPax is going to walk home and come in from the other side.
He's got no recall. He just recalled that Prism that was chilling behind the main base of Spirit. So recall is actually still on cooldown. But in the end, that's not too bad for MaxPax. He even snipes one of the medevacs. So perhaps crisis averted. But I'm sure that Spirit is happy, A, to just get some units out. B, be like, you know what? That was scary, what I saw there. But at least it wasn't the scariest army ever of like 5 Colossus and a whole bunch of Disruptors, right? It's a lot of gateway units. He knows about the storm. But I think there were worse things that Spirit could have walked into there. So I think he's kind of happy as he is still waiting for another attack. Warp Prism goes very far forward and dies with 2 High Templars inside of it. Storms is still juicy, but another big pick-off there for Spirit.
Spirit's losing his medevacs. I think they just F2'd back home. And so you lost one more full medevac, and that's where a chunk of his supply just disappeared to. Fortunately, the other just by the Stalkers with a sliver of HP. I mean, that's a costly mistake, because with an extra bit of, a few units here, it could be making the difference immediately as Spirit starts to move forwards. MaxPax is on multiple places with Zealots, and that's what's so frustrating to play against here. Wow.
Yeah, you feel like Spirit's done a great job defensively for 5 minutes straight. The moment he moves out, tries to take 4 bases, the floodgates are open. Zealots storm in from different angles. I mentioned the Colossi earlier. Well, the first one is on the production tab right now. It's obviously double force on the side of MaxPax too. He's not quite using both of them yet, but obviously the moment you say that, he fires up +3 because he is MaxPax. And yeah, second Robo goes down as well. This game is not going to get any easier for Spirit. He's got a whole bunch of Widow Mines, and if this entire army runs into all the Widow Mines, our MaxPax is like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Sure, buddy, why not?
Well, definitely softened up the Zealots. There's more Zealots in the back that need to come and make a play. Here's the Storm, and Spirit does turn around right on time. could have been terrible, but, I mean, the SCV damage is kind of terrible. Zealots everywhere. They saw their brothers fall to the Widow Mines, but they're going to get revenge by killing every single SCV, apparently, and Spirit just cannot keep the economy up, and a nice storm to actually clean the mines out, because I feel like that's what you had to be afraid of, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was like, if we're gonna put that entire army on top of the Widow Mines, like Protoss units have a lot of HP, and they won't all die or something, but that would have been slightly problematic. In the end, MaxPax averts that crisis. The funny thing is that he had an observer in surveillance mode sitting on the right side of that. Could have brought it over, but he's like, nope, I really like where that observer is, because that is what allows me to get these perfect run-bys over and over again. It seems that Spirit had enough of the beating that he's been receiving here on Dragon Skills, as MaxPax, very casually, by the way, Wadi has gone up to 6 bases during all of this. Spirit is going to cancel one of them, but he's about to run into Colossi, Disruptors, lose more SCVs at home. This game, I think, is close to ending, as one Colossus does fall, but there are alien units for days here, and the Terran units have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. MaxPax should be able to clean this up without too many issues, and should be able to put himself on match point to make it into the grand finals today.
Yep, no, absolutely. Spirit loses absolutely everything in the end there, and MaxPax will take it down. GG's. Man, it just feels like this was not a bad game for Spirit. He put himself in a good place. Defense was decent. MaxPax made a mistake losing the Prism. But, like, the moment you can start moving Zealots into mineral lines, it feels like Spirit has no answer. Like, he loses so many workers, and that is a major problem. In the second game that Spirit even won, it was also a problem, just Spirit was at least good enough with his army to be competitive on the other side, but he was still taking an absolute beating on his worker lines, and those Zealot plays alone are winning MaxPax this series at this point, I think.
Yes. No, that is obviously something that we need to keep in our mind. If we want to play the longer games, right? If we don't want to play super straightforward, perhaps in the eyes of some boring StarCraft, where it's like opening into 2 base all in, pull the boys. Yeah, then we need to be able to deal with these run-bys, because MaxPax is incredibly good at realizing when to send these Zealots in. Never it's just 1 run-by, it's always 2 run-bys immediately, and then he's still threatening you with his main army in the center of the map. I mean, we all love the big Gabriel bunker, right? At the 3rd base of a Terran that's protected by a couple of supply depots that we can repair for days. If we want to play the longer game, it just feels like that is a necessity. And yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't see it yet, but we'll see what the game plan is on Grasvan. It felt a bit sad because it was Spirit only ever defending, and then he did get a freebie with that Warp Prism and a couple of the Stalkers. But even then, it's like, okay, economically it's all right, but he had no idea what was happening on the other side of the map. The only thing he saw 10 minutes in was that scan he threw down at that 12 o'clock base.
The one scan to see the 3rd, yeah. It was a very kind of just, I mean, you just got pushed up into a corner and you just had to sit there. Nothing you could really do apart from defend and wait, and he didn't find a way to get across. And you know what could have been so scary was those 3 medevacs, and then he lost one, just about lost one after, like, the start was fine, lose one, and then the 2 of them just fly over like stalkers, and okay, you only lost one of them, but then it's not even that he lost one, it's the fact that it would have been a threat on the map, rather than just it always being about what MaxPax was doing. That's the issue Spirit had. He never got out of that kind of MaxPax kind of telling him what to do every time.
That was maybe a bit of that panic kicking in, right? Yeah, you're being attacked into your 3rd base. You see a War Prism show up with storms, and he did get a great snipe on that War Prism, and 2 High Templars were still inside of it. So that's normally awesome. But yeah, if we F2 to do that, and we lose a full medevac with a bunch of units inside, and then the other medevac obviously loses its potential, yeah, then killing that Prism and killing the High Templars doesn't really mean all that much anymore. We're going to have to step it up if we are Spirit, and we want to continue our magical run here in the semifinals. Well, in this entire tournament, obviously, of the ESL Masters Europe Regionals. Game 4 will be Grasvan. I don't really want to see him open up Triple CC like that, Wadi, because if he does the exact same build, there's a good chance that MaxPax will do the exact same thing. And at one point, it even felt like we were very close to that game just being over immediately when the Prince got the double kill on the 2 tanks early on.
Yeah, that is very true, actually. The 2 tanks going down when they were both repositioned at the same time did feel like a major slip-up from this man in the bottom right-hand corner. Tournament life on the line. It's been a great run so far. Can he keep it going? It's Spirit.
And in the top left side, we are looking at the main base of the young man from Denmark who's been rising through the ranks of European StarCraft. He has been getting better and better and is now 1 map away for making it into the grand finals of the biggest online European tournament we have for the first time in his career. Can he get the job done? Psystorm Gaming's MaxPax.
Be cool, man. Would be cool. As SCV comes across the map, he had that great engineering bay block on altitude. We'll see if MaxPax is going to be as, you know, carefree about kind of moving out. He does check, but the timing's not, like, this isn't the timing for the engineering bay blocks. Like, checking when he did doesn't really do much.
So we are going to have the same thing. I mean, that's the one map that Spirit has won so far. It obviously forced MaxPax to go for maybe a different build than he initially wanted to, even though Stargate on altitude is not strange. Stargate on Grassbond also not strange, but definitely not MaxPax's favorite, if you ask me. So this could work out well, but it almost seems that MaxPax was anticipating this, as he now fired up the Zealot rather early, but it's still going to take a long time. Maybe this was just the Zealot to run to the other side of the map in case Spirit would build the CC on the low ground. Interesting opening here, Waddy. Curious to see where it goes down. If Spirit does build low ground CC, and it seems that is what he wants to do, I mean, then the Zealot and the Adepts, that could become problematic, no?
Oh, no, 100%, right? I mean, if he low ground CCs, then the Zealot and Adept come over. There's so much pressure potential. And the Zealot has nothing else to do. The engineering bay cancels, of course. Stalker.
And he goes to Reactor as well. Yeah, but Stalker is also fantastic. The only problem with the Stalker is that it takes a little longer maybe to make it to the other side of the map than the Adept. MaxPax could build a pylon and gateway on this side of the map as well. Spirit, we need to start getting a bunker like yesterday. He needs to start building a bunker. Okay, we're going to throw it down right now. That is good news at least, right? I want to say the ultimate crisis averted, but this is still going to be a relatively annoying sequence of events, and Spirit really cannot drop the ball because that one Marine is the only firepower he currently has. I'm just super happy to see that he dropped the bunker, man. Otherwise, this would have been so bad.
If bunker started now, there's just no hope it ever gets up. As the Zealot will go down for just a couple more swipes on the Marine. That does make it an easier pick-off for the Stalker. We mentioned that gateway being proxied, and we are going full on aggression here. MaxPax knows there's one hurt Marine. We'll get that guaranteed shot before the bunker is there for safety. And that means the Stalker is just going to sit and chill. And now you kind of wait for a few more units, especially off this proxied gate. And once you have enough, you can obviously walk past this bunker as well and make some action happen there. Spirit's factory needs to get a Cyclone out most likely to really deal with this mobile offensive.
Yep, I think that MaxPax is looking to open up with 3 Adepts here, right? 3 Adepts are going to one-shot Marines, one-shot SCVs, and that's going to launch him into a very sweet spot entering the mid-game. But yeah, once the Cyclone is out, it's going to be a whole lot more difficult. I was incredibly concerned for Spirit, but at the moment I'm like, you know what? I really don't actually hate it. It also feels that the setup is fine. It almost feels that Spirit expected some of these things to happen. Yeah, MaxPax was definitely hoping for more. I like the idea still of the Stalker, because the Stalker has micro potential 4 days if there was no bunker, until the Cyclone comes out. Cyclone is out right now, gets the lock on the Stalker. I would have kind of liked to see the Cyclone chase that, Waddy.
That feels like an easy kill. I mean, unless you're afraid of more Stalkers, but then you saw 5 Adepts shading. 5 Adepts are not going to be the kind of scary kind of part of this, as we do get a couple more shots on the Cyclone. This is still an important dance, because there's a Prism on the way. We're very soon going to have the potential to bypass the army. There's not vision in the main base. If Spirit lets this slip by, get in the main, there's also a sentry that's just been made. If you have a force field in the right place, that could go very badly wrong. He's going to force field right here to go for the bunker. He's not going to have the damage, though.
I'm so confused about what MaxPax is doing at the moment. Like, obviously, the Prism can pick up a couple of Adepts, can drop them into the main base, can maybe create some chaos then with Adepts in the main and Adepts in the natural at the same time, but these Adepts do not have resonating glaives. They're not just going to chew their way through an entire worker line. We are now looking at a 4-minute 50-second Twilight Council as all the gases have been taken as well. Like, this is definitely quite crazy. MaxPax needs to find damage because the power units of the Protoss, or the units that normally do well in the mid-game, they are so long off that it's really important for MaxPax that he finds a lot of damage with these Adepts and that he makes sure that this lingers on for a while, right? Keep Spirit at home and allow yourself to get some of those good upgrades up and running at home.
Yeah, 5 SCVs is a good start, but we've got a long way to go. Now, supplies are deceiving because Spirit's army is about to be so much better than MaxPax's. Unupgraded gateway units against the proper amount of bio just doesn't do anything. So, yeah, we've got a ways to go. Robo base starts up from MaxPax as well as the 3rd Nexus of the game. But yeah, you're right. MaxPax needs to do a lot of time buying. That's a great catch on the Cyclone, though, because that is going to enable him to be a bit more aggressive with the Prism, a little bit more safely with that. That's a fantastic start for MaxPax, and I mean, cool catch, because you don't usually expect to catch that there.
No, from the low ground with a force field, Stalkers without blink, killing a Cyclone. Yeah, you're spot on there, Waddy. That is going to open the door for this War Prism play to become a bit more adventurous. You don't have to worry about the lock-ons. You don't have to worry about losing the Prism when it's way above that airspace. That was sloppy by Spirit. Amazing catch by MaxPax. And that's going to make him feel a little bit better about just making sure that this continues. Make sure that he finds a little bit of damage here and there. And above all, it allows him to get the Colossi out on the other side of the map. First one is on the way. No Thermal Lens yet. No Forge yet either. I think that's important to keep an eye on. But yeah, what a pickoff.
Yep, this time the Prism is going to get stimmed on, though, but is going to turn around in time. MaxPax playing nice and quickly there. Not taking a risk. Didn't waste any time at all. He has 3 more Stalkers warping in because he's about to have Blink. You know, the stim just went down. We do not have Medivacs yet, so now these Marines are already hurting a little bit, and we're about to jump into this main base, I think. Plus, you have the Adepts that can tank a little bit. If they can tank, they're going to get rid of the tank straight away. The Stalkers are. The Marines try to go for the Prism, but that's a lot of move commanding. We have some Marauders, though. They can go a long way. These Adepts need to get in the front, absorb some of this damage. In the end, we're evacuating out. Oh, dangerous game.
Yeah, that was scary for Spirit there. Spirit just wanted to gun down that War Prism as quickly as possible, because he probably felt, as long as I get that Prism, I'll never die against these Stalkers, but he didn't get the Prism, so a lot of Stalkers were able to get amazing trades against these bio units. A tank and 15 Marines have died now, as MaxPax has lost very few power units. Great catch there, by the way, on the Observer, as I was taking a little look at the main base of Spirit. He throws down a scan, he gets the ops, makes his life a little bit easier. But yeah, I do feel that all the momentum once more belongs to MaxPax. He's just cornering Spirit. And when we normally look at this matchup where it's like, oh, it's important for the Protoss to have, you know, clean defense at home, don't take any damage. Spirit is not able to make anything happen on the other side of the map in the first 10 minutes of these TVPs.
He's just getting absolutely choked out of this game. Like, he has had no impact in terms of what's going on apart from trying to defend. And there's a Stalker here from MaxPax, which is trying to provide vision against stuff like these Medivacs, so that's just a good watch, and Spirit's going to scan, and Stalkers will have to just blink away from this. They'll turn for a couple of kills before they go. I mean, this just means Prism time, right? And immediately it's starting to move down to the south and into the main yet again, which is completely undefended.
Oh, yeah, we're going to pull the SUVs by the looks of it. I don't hate it. I think it's one of the only choices. MaxPax going up to 4 bases. I think it would be okay for MaxPax to cancel that. One thing that MaxPax maybe needs to make sure of is that he doesn't warp in too many units, right, with that War Prism. Because this Prism is going to be amazing. Even slow Zealots are going to be amazing. But MaxPax right now really only has one job, and that is protect his army on his side of the map. He's got a couple of sentries. Guardian Shield gets activated, and it seems that this is not going anywhere as all the SUVs just get obliterated. This is the 4th base of MaxPax. Who cares if he loses that? This is a terrifying army, and I don't see it ever fall, Waddy.
That wasn't even an SCV pull. That was more of an SCV donation, because they just walked up without any of the bio doing anything. Like, okay, we got the tanks in position a bit, but we're not even going to be allowed a final fight because